at a level where you're the best, if you wanna be the big fish in the
But
sea
you're
all of the
in a
time.
small pond.
Yeah, right? It's right, you just stay in a small
Stay
pond,
where
but
you
most of us
are.
have aspirations to be at a higher level, to do bigger things. Well, shoot, I know.
Welcome to Cleats, Chaos, and Coffee, the podcast for the sports mom, the underdogs, the ride or die sideline warriors who've had their hearts broken, their wallets drained, and their schedules hijacked by youth sports. Today, we are going to welcome Colin Stevens, the former D1 Division basketball standout and mental performance coach, and a lot more in between that I know personally about. So, Collins played high pressure games and now teaches others how to own their own mindset. He also has a couple books that I would love to talk about. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of the questions that we're going to mention and what mentally performance really looks like for the student athlete, why burnout is showing up earlier than ever, and how to catch it, and one thing every parent and coach and athlete needs to understand about the real mental game. These are my favorite questions, the last ones. So, Colin, I'm going to get started by asking, you have played high level D1 ball and you know the culture, the pressure, the next man up mentally. Now you coach athletes from the inside out. Tell us, what is the exchange? What is the experience? What would you like to share about this? I am dying to know since you were there and now you're here.
Yeah, Tammy, thanks for having me on. This is something that's near and dear to my heart, not only playing at the Division 1 level, but then afterwards, where I met you and training players, have been able to, train youngsters all the way up through NBA players and WNBA players, and so looking at performance, I love the sport of basketball, and my journey was pretty challenging in terms of I was a walk on because I wasn't recruited. And then I was able to earn a scholarship and then become captain my senior year for a 20-win team at Coastal Carolina University. Yeah, so that's the briefest part of my my college journey. But then as I started training players, that's when I started to understand more of what was going on internally. Even the highest level of players, there's our performance is certainly based on a few things. One is our skill set and our capabilities. What can we do athletically? How we've built our skill set around whatever particular game it is, and then there's that side of it, and then there's, like, this internal side that we can't see, right? We can see the external skill set, the physical, right? Do they look like an athlete? Do they run, jump like an athlete? What have you.
The external, yep, absolutely.
And that's way easier to see. And then the internal is really what dictates the success or the performance of an athlete. Um, because even myself being a shorter player in a tall man's game, uh, the times that I struggled more had to do with an internal struggle, whether it was doubt or overthinking or
Basically competing against everybody else in your head, is how I like to describe that, yeah.
sure. Hesitating, because I didn't wanna mess up, right? So there's a lot that goes into all that, but then on the other side of that, I've also experienced same player, same size, same skill set and athlete, but I've experienced where I've played at an extremely high level, where I was confident and I was flowing and I wasn't thinking so much, and I was able to perform at a very high level. And so I studied psychology at Coastal Carolina University. So I'm thinking, like there was almost like two different me's that competed at the collegiate level. And how can I get to where I perform at a higher level? It has to do with, yes, my skill set, but it has to do with my mentality and my mindset and what's going on internally and how I manage that so that I can perform at a high level. And then this took, as I was training players, I started implementing what I was learning, and I would study each one of my players so that I could understand them more, where we could get them to perform at the highest level that we could.
So I'm just going to ask real curious, I'm real curious. How do you think you got from step one to step two? How was that transformation? Was it you being familiar with psychology? Was it you digging into psychology? Was it you just gaining that confidence on the court? Or was it all? Was it all three?
Okay, so yes. Um, all of that. Well, I think the psychology helped, and my curiosity there was extremely important. But then, you know what, Tammy? I think for all of us when it comes to transformation, this could be sports, it could be business, it could be relationships. When we are really struggling, we often look for an external fix to our struggle. If we change an input, then maybe things will improve. We'll get that transformation that we're looking for. But what I've found over my 2 decades of going down this path is it's really when we get tired of our own BS, when we get tired of it and we take ownership of our journey ahead, it empowers us to make the changes that we need to make. Most of us struggle in whatever area it is because of fear. And fear is it's got roots to so many different problematic issues for us as individuals and humans, regardless of what the arena is. And, when I look back to being a player, man, when I was hesitant or I had doubt or I was, just wanted to make the coaches happy or just wanted to, my teammates to like me, all of that was, you could trace it all back to fear. And so, when I got to the point where I was so tired of being fearful and so exhausted of it, I actually got benched my senior year. My senior year, I was team captain, I was on scholarship. It was what I was wanting and hoping for in terms of a college career and then to finish strong my senior year. We got a new coach that came in and it just like it messed with my mind. I wanted him and the coaching staff to like me. And so I paid too much attention to try to get them to like me. When in actuality, at the Division I level, you know what coaches like? They like winning because they like their job and they like their paycheck,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. That's the job, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
So I got benched. They put a freshman, started him in front of me. I was just getting a few minutes a game, and I should have gotten benched. Like, I was not performing at a high level. I was not leading our team because I was too caught up in my head. And then it came to the point where, I was just like, "You know what? I'm tired of caring so much about what people think about me. I'm tired of trying to control so many of these factors that actually I can't control anyway." And so finally, when I got tired of my own BS, I showed up to practice with a whole different attitude, a whole different mentality, and I was a totally different player. And I wound up earning my starting job
I was
back.
gonna say, and that got you back
Yes.
on the court. Yep,
Well,
absolutely.
it's because I started to fight and assert myself and be who I could be without being so cluttered in my mind. And so then I earned my starting job back, and we won 13 games in a row and just missed the NCAA tournament by a point. And I played the best basketball of my life. So that sort of transformation helped me so much when it came to me coaching and training players, and then even so for now, what I'm doing in terms of personal development and leadership development.
100%. And I'm going to give a raw truth. So, the first people I have invited to this show are who I call my village. And when I say village, I referred to it in the other two videos. It is the people that I trusted with my children, the people that I knew my kids would learn from and grow from. I was very particular on who I chose. Um, and I was that mother that was involved. So, good, bad, or ugly. So I was certainly there. However, I chose these people, and Colin was one of them. And I will say the mental aspect that I worked with you with one of my oldest son. was quick. So as soon as I saw that there was an issue, Colin was one of the people who addressed it right away and said, "Well, here's a person we can talk to, or some tips and tools." And we did start working on it pretty much immediately. But that mental game, um, and the way we handled it over the years was in play, it was in practice, and we definitely reached out. But again, the reason I put together that village is because I am not going to have all the answers for my children, and I am not going to have all the answers for them in another genre. In other words, sports. I knew nothing about it. So for me, having you in his world was a game changer. And still, and I love the fact that my kids, 23, 24, still have these relationships from 7, 8. So you were certainly essential in the growth of my children, who ended up both playing, in college for, not at a D1 level, but definitely played in college at a D3 level. So that had a lot to do with your input also. So trusting you in that journey and knowing that you were providing that guidance because of your experience was key. So I have seen that personally. And then I brought in my second son, who also worked with Colin. So now that I think you also work in the realm of, families, group families, couples. You've really kind of taken that game and extended it and continued to grow it. I know you have another book coming out. Congratulations. So I personally want to thank you for that, because that did make a difference in my children's life. So taking your experience and what you learned from that has certainly carried over, and it will be a legacy of yours. So, and the one thing I wanted to bring up, when you started, Colin, when my children were younger, started Manzer, you had actually named that business after somebody that was a mentor to you. So I always thought that was huge. So if you want to tell me quickly about, Manzer and that mentor and how he played a role, I would love that, just because I think it was so important in my children's journey. And I think that says a lot about you.
Yeah. So when I was coming out of high school, I was voted most valuable player in my county, and thought that I would have more
High school
opportunity.
star?
Yeah, all right. Thought that I would have,
Top
more colleges that would be interested in recruiting me, and they
Yeah.
just weren't, not at the level that I wanted to play at. And so I went to a Fellowship of Christian Athletes camp, and I met Dave Manzer, who was a Division III coach in Pennsylvania, and he started recruiting me once he found out that I was not playing, that I'd just gotten cut from Towson University, which is a Division I school up by my home, and he started recruiting me, and it was I still, there was something in me that believed I could play Division I, even though that nobody was showing any interest. Um, he was recruiting me, and we developed a great relationship, and he said he made a deal with me. He said, "Colin, if you fill out an application for my school, then I'll talk to some of the coaching friends that I have in Division I basketball." And I was like, "Wow, this is great. Nobody's even attempted to go to bat for me before." My high school coach did, and my parents did, to the best that they could, right? But not like in it, you know. And so before I even got a chance to fill out the application, he called Pete Strickland down at Coastal Carolina University, who's a good friend of his, and said, "Hey, I've got a player that I think might be able to walk onto your team. He at least wants to try out. Can he have a shot?" And so I, got in touch with Pete, and he said, "Well, yeah, we'd love for you to come take a visit and see if you like the school. And I hope you like the school, because if you don't make the team, you're gonna be a regular student." So, there was no guarantee. This is 8 hours away from home. But Dave Manzer was, to me, somebody who cared more about the players than just himself. He knew that I would be an instrumental piece of his success if I went to his school and played for his team. But he was willing to see what it was that I wanted and that I desired, and push me into that, right? Um, and without that, I don't know if I would've had the journey that I had, and would have been able to realize my dream of playing Division I basketball on scholarship. And so I'm naming my academy in 2010, because in 2009, because, I start training players and we're growing from, 5 players to 10 players to 30 players to 50 players to and it's becoming a business, not just a side gig. And I'm like, "You know what? I name it after Dave. I don't this it's beyond me, right?" My my and Dave passed away at the age of 50 and left behind 3 kids and a wife, and I felt like it was a way to honor him, um, and so his name still lives on even down here in Myrtle Beach.
Absolutely. It's grown substantially.
Yes, yes.
Legs is carrying itself.
And so but that's my philosophy on, what what good life is about. When we take what we have learned from others or received from others, like, what a gift for him to reach out for me, um, out of my benefit and not his. What a gift. And if I just let that gift stay with me and then I get all selfish, well, then it stops with me. Like, his gift towards me stops with me. So, he gifted me that, and then I see this as, wow, what an opportunity to continue to pass on that gift. And so, everything that I'm doing in terms of development, whether it's in basketball or it's in leadership or in my better people business or my books or what have you, it's lessons that I've learned about myself or I've learned about others that we can pass on. So it can be this gift where it elevates other people. And a lot of time when we give a gift, sometimes it can feel like it takes away from us, but it doesn't because it's part of our legacy that lives on. It's part of our essence and our energy that continues beyond us. And so
Well, I know you've left a legacy without a doubt, and I know it wasn't just for my kids. Now, I was around in the early days, but I know it's hundreds kids, 100 kids, grown on. I don't even think I think you're so busy now that that got to a level where you have so many people even working for you, continuing that legacy. So I'm so proud of you and so excited for you and have seen your personal journey and truly inspired by that. Again, with my own children, it was expired. It was absolutely amazing because guess what? Mine are short too. Mine were very short. So to
yeah,
get recruited under 6 foot tall, we had hope because Colin did. No, just kidding.
yeah, no, that's right. I carved my way, and then I was hoping to show the way to others too.
So it always inspired us just that fact.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yep.
had to throw that in there, Colin.
It is what it is, sister. It's part of the
It was
story.
inspiring. It was inspiring. All right. So I would love to know though, when it comes to mental toughness and mental wellness, what do you find the difference is?
Yeah. So when I think about mental toughness, the thing that comes to mind is durability. How much of a hit can we take and then still respond? Get up off the mat, if you will, mentally. Right? So, I mean, if you're playing at a high level, coaches are gonna get after you. It's gonna happen. And so this mental resilience is how much of a hit can we take? How much, um, difficulty and adversity can we take when we make mistakes or, our coach is getting after us or a teammate is, barking at us or what have you? How much of that can we absorb and then still continue to perform at a high level? Like those are mentally tough people and keep winning at the forefront. When we struggle with mental toughness or mental resilience, um, it is because a coach yells at us and then we freeze and then we hesitate and we're worried about something. We're worried about getting yanked or like we get caught up in our mind or a teammate barks at us because we made a mistake and then we just our body language just shows that we lack confidence and um or we make some mistakes and then we get caught up in our head and we just keep thinking about the mistakes and then it leads to more mistakes and we go down that rabbit hole. Like that's where we struggle with mental resilience. So I think about this thing of durability. What kind of hit can you take and still bounce back quickly? Um in in terms of mental health, is such a massive thing for young athletes, young people altogether now, because social media has played such a massive role in the way that young people view themselves, and not just young people, certainly folks our age as well. Um, but it plays a role in how people view themselves.
'Cause now you have the judgment and you have everything else thrown at him social media-wise. I mean,
So, I mean, if you think about it, like when I played at the park, uh, 30 years ago, and if somebody, if I was playing defense real hard and then somebody crossed me up and broke my ankles, I mean, everybody at the park would lose their mind, and they probably tease me for a week, right? But but it stayed there, or it just went word of mouth. You've now got players, athletes, young people that are so scared to try their hardest because everything's videoed now, and you know what gets the most views is somebody getting dunked on or somebody getting their ankles broken, and so young people are hesitant to give their full effort because they don't wanna look like a fool, not just to the people at the park, but to millions of people that they don't know.
absolutely.
And so we got the benefit of not being recorded all the time.
I haven't the cameras. I say that all the time. I can't even imagine what would happen if we had cameras back in the day.
And so when you think about what this does psychologically for young people is they're just trying to be safe. They're trying to take care of themselves and be safe, so they hedge and they don't push so hard because they might be afraid that they're gonna look bad, on the internet. And so so that's one of the things that contributes, I believe, to mental health. When I think the things that young folks struggle with the most right now are certainly anxiety and depression. And a lot of times what that is stems from is fear. It stems from kids trying to be something that they're not, right? When they don't have a good sense of self and standards for themselves, it makes it really challenging for them to navigate who they ought to be based upon the group of friends they're hanging out with or who they want to be around or and so I think mental health for young people is about understanding some more what's going on inside of them, processing some of these emotions and talking about it and getting it out so that it doesn't stay with us. I'm a big believer that if we don't process emotions, they stay with us. They make us heavy, they weigh us down, they make us, they can slow us down. They stay with us. And so I think if we can talk about it or write about it or get it out some way, it can be way healthier.
Absolutely. Now, I do remember my kid like I said, my children certainly went through it like every other athlete and through both of their careers, from young to old, and that was a constant, and as a mom, I was very proactive. Again, not having all the answers. There is no rule book that comes to this. You kinda learn as you go, and you're lucky enough to find the right people around them, but as a parent, I know I was engaged knowing that that was, really real and prevalent in their lives. But it couldn't be in a matter of every minute going, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Is everything all right?" It really had to be a delicate situation. And I knew that I needed to reach out to people that he would actually listen to and learn from because they have experienced that also. So again, we come back into that journey being so prevalent as I haven't met one athlete that this is not effective. It's still to this day. I mean, literally to the graduation, to the last basketball game, I was still hearing it. And I learned so much through the process of both of my children as athletes, with you, with different places I've gone to, with boarding school. I really was blessed to kind of see it from so many different angles, but that never left. That mental aspect for any player. I know my kids, just because we were there and very supportive, it may have gotten easier, and they learn how to handle it better. But that does take an awful lot of work, and I wouldn't say that ever ends. But being there for your child, letting them know, hey, it's okay. We're here for you. We're on this journey with you. Got it. Get it. No problem. Understanding it. I think there's a a whole different way of trying to and address an athlete as they already are in their own head all the time. It never ended at all, even to the very last game. And I know some new aspects that actually I didn't see coming for my kids. Portal, so that was a whole new game changer. Just now we have what it looks like. I'm not clear on all the details. You probably know more. It looks like schools can pay for the players now. So it's really now changing the game even more. So I do feel there's going to be that pressure or there's almost going to be that hopelessness. And keeping that in balance and check, I think, is going to be an interesting struggle that really needs to have bring the parents in to let them know that this is something that they should be addressing or aware of or, reaching out to get that help.
Yeah, Tammy, and what you're so much of what you're talking about, when it comes to like physical health, we can tell by our eyes and perceive whether someone's relatively healthy, right? They can be active, they eat decently, they process food decently. Like physically, we can tell when somebody is physically well because we can also tell when they're unwell, whether it's, this rise in obesity in our country or someone has a broken leg or just had surgery or like we can see that. We can see when somebody has their arm wrapped up or they have bandages or a brace or something. We can tell, but it's so much more challenging to tell whether somebody's struggling with mental health because we can't see it unless we have like this awareness, this emotional awareness where you can look at somebody and you can read their body language or you can tell that they are holding back and they're stuck. And so we this mental health piece is so wildly important. So, okay, so let's really quick talk about this. Physical health. How does somebody become physically healthy? They have to be active, right? They have to be active.
Train themselves, absolutely.
That activity is can't be totally comfortable because it's the stress and the strain that actually will lead to our body becoming stronger. And not only do we need to push ourselves, we also need to consume things that are nutritious and healthy for us so that our body can build back stronger. That's how we train from the physical standpoint. From the mental health standpoint, it's no different. We have to be able to struggle through things and come out on the other side. If all we're doing is seeking comfort where we never feel challenged intellectually, we never feel challenged emotionally, or we never feel challenged internally, then we're not actually going to get stronger. But it's not just on the mental exercises, if you will. We also have to consume things that are nutritious for us and actually build up our mental health so that it's this same cycle on the mental side as it is the physical side. We've just done a really poor job addressing this on the mental side.
Exactly. The mental health aspect has been pushed aside. I think, especially as athletes, you are to get on, you are to play, and that is your job.
My dad played 5 years in the NFL,
Right, right. Oh,
right? And so I mean, he's like a rub some dirt on it. "Oh, you broke your arm? Well, get up, get up,
no, that was their generation, 100.
wrap it up, and let's go." Like, we don't have but they went through world wars. Right? They
Absolutely.
experienced a different types of hardships than our kids have ever experienced,
Oh,
even
yeah.
that I experienced myself. And so there is a generation that never took time to explore internally, almost because maybe there wasn't time, or maybe we just didn't have the resources,
Right, I
right?
think, again, an aspect of you don't know. I mean, it was just
Right,
never addressed, so it was one of those things you almost, kept it internally, and it was nothing you talked about.
right. But because it's thought if you talk about your emotions or express them in some way, then it's some sort of
Weak.
weakness,
It's a weakness, yep,
right?
absolutely.
And here's what's extremely important. When it comes to sports and business, your opponent wants to know what your weaknesses are so they can exploit them and win. But when it comes to relationships and health, mental health, vulnerability is just truth. It's not weakness. Because when it comes to health and it comes to relationships, there's no winner. We have to make sure that we're not trying to apply the same tactics of sports and business to relationships and mental health
Which I
because
think
there's
there is a strength in being vulnerable.
absolutely. Because it takes courage, because it's not
Yeah,
something that's
that's true.
widely accepted, but
Right.
really all it is just unveiling the truth.
Absolutely.
It's me letting you see that I'm fearful of something, right? Here's the thing, is that doesn't work on the battlefield. You can't do that with your opponent and say, "Hey, guys, I'm pretty scared here. Are you will you do you mind taking it easy on me?"
5
Like
minutes, I'll be right back at you.
right. Yeah, right. Just give me some time to get myself together and really process this, and then maybe we resume play then when I feel more confident? Like, there's not time for that. And so for the ones who excel when it comes to competition, they're battle tested, they're ready to deal with all of the stuff that is coming in the battle, but we often see those folks who are the strongest in battle struggle in relationships, struggle in emotional intelligence because it takes sometimes can take away from their ability to compete if they're too aware on that side of things or they're trying to process while competing. We're in trouble. So it's important that we differentiate and know the difference of the two of being emotionally intelligent and aware, but then also being able to compete, not thinking so much and just get after it and try to exploit the weaknesses of our opponents too, right? I mean, it's a tough game to understand.
Well, like I said, especially, going into the athletic world with my children, there is no book. There's nothing that tells you what you're gonna experience. I mean, that's kind of the premise of what I'm doing now, but it really was one of those, kinda throw a dart at the board and hope you're doing the right thing, and then as you go through and you see it, it's a whole different. It's a game changer. But sports is, I think, such for my kids, it's been such a blessing. It has taught them so much, and I will always be a strong advocate for sports. But I think there are tools as parents we can learn to better support our children. That's really what I'm looking for is as parents, how we support them, when sometimes they don't want to be supported with us. So to give them all those tools and to let them know, but having that, knowing that that mental wellness is an aspect. It's not a weakness. It's something that, even as a family, you can support together. 100%. And I've seen you do it with your family. I watch you, Colin. I watch you. I follow you. I follow.
No doubt. I mean, my wife played college soccer along, at the
Your
same school
kids,
that
I
I was
think, are
at.
in sports now too.
They
Yeah.
Our kids are in travel sports, travel soccer,
Welcome
and
to the world.
yeah. Oh my gosh. And
I'm
look,
happy you're here. I'm so
the
in the world again.
the amount of conversations that we're having on, what our kids need at the moment is like crazy. It's, do they need a kick in the ass? Maybe. Do they need a hug? Maybe. Do they need silence and to be able to process some of this stuff on their own? Maybe. Like there's no like, this is how we ought to do it all of the time.
There
No.
isn't, and there isn't. Like I said, for me, it was so important to learn from those who've been there, and I really reached out, I really gravitated it, and I have learned so much from you, and the other, what I call is village for my children, and I will always advocate for having a village for your children. I know I repeat myself, but I really think having your children learn from somebody who's been there and done that, and some of the stuff you've said here today I had no idea. I had no idea that you live with that fear too, coming off of your father being a professional player, you being a professional player. You just don't know everybody's personal journey.
Sure, and that's what's interesting, and so as I'm training some of these NBA players, they have some of the same fears or the same hesitations. Now
And you're going, "What? What?"
right, you wouldn't think that, right? But it's just at a different level. Now, I will say that the best of the best, um, they're not thinking quite as much. Like, they are if you will take yeah, I mean, they're like the Navy SEALs of of sports, whether it's NFL or NBA or, WNBA. They're so good at performing. They're so good at what they do that they're confident most of the time. But everybody goes through some doubts. I mean, Steph Curry has even talked about some of going through, like, the mental game, but
Again, it's that vulnerability that makes you go, "Dang it, even if they're there, then I'm okay." That's what I'm saying, exposing that to your kids and letting them know, "Listen, everybody." I remember over and over playing videos for Cody. "Did you know Jordan got cut in his high school?" Did you know? Simple things like that. So, it's so important, and, again, I really thank you for being there for my children, and the mental game is such one that needs to be addressed. And I think for me, it's tough as a parent to say, hey, you may not know this to another parent, but the reality of it is, again, there's no rule book. You just don't know until you're in it. So hopefully, allowing people to understand that these are aspects that we can be addressing now, even as they're young, will make them stronger as they grow. I know it did for mine, and your kids are blessed to have you as a father, so they will have that also. So I have another question though. If you had 5 minutes alone to talk to the parents in the world, what would be the one key thing you think they need to know? The one walk away, the one, golden nugget that they would keep with them.
it's okay for your kid to struggle. I think so many times as parents, we are, judging ourselves and grading ourselves based on the success of our kids. And so it's okay for our kids to struggle. In fact, it's necessary for our kids to struggle. And how we handle them struggling speaks volumes to what they believe about themselves and their capabilities going forward. For us as parents, if we see them struggling and we are intervening so much, it's going to what that communicates, whether we on a subconscious level, is that they don't have the capability to overcome the struggle on their own. And so it's important that our kids struggle with our supervision so that it's not too much struggle, right? If there's too much struggle or the mental health is too far south, absolutely we've got to intervene because they might be thinking about doing something that is, we can't change. And so we have to be observant enough to understand that if they can struggle within our supervision, but then they can work themselves out of the struggle or through the struggle, they can walk through the swamp alone to the other side where there's green pasture. Like, then that subconsciously promotes this belief in self, this I can do it, I'm okay, I'm gonna be okay, I don't need somebody to save me. And so we just changed, our daughter just upped her level in terms of the club that she's playing for, in soccer, and I knew she was gonna struggle because 'cause she'd played at a local club that she was one of the best players at, and so when she leveled up,
Oh, yeah. You're not the top dog again, are you?
there's gonna be a struggle, and I knew it, but I'd rather her struggle now with our supervision so that we can help her, whether it's hands-on or hands-off. Um, but more than anything, so that she can start to develop like, okay, the struggle's not doesn't mean something's wrong with me. It just means I'm trying to do more. It just means I'm trying to level up. So I think as parents, if we can embrace this idea that our kids need to struggle to develop their own resilience within, then it takes some of the pressure off of us. Right? And then it also allows for our like, what my wife and I want are for our kids to be able to be independent, um, that they love themselves, that they know how to push hard, that they even have the awareness of when they need a break, that they are just confident in self, and to be able to get there, they have to develop that on their own, and that's hard for us as parents.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Never forget when my son was recruited to a school, and he was a pretty good player here, um, but he went there And he was a good player, but there were better players, and he had to work really, really hard, and I remember him coming back the next summer, and we were like, "Holy" the difference in playing was night and day. So, for us to send him somewhere where he's no longer going to be with us, to not be able to actually be there physically with him, to only support him mentally the best we could, and pretty much putting him into the fire, but if this is the path you want, it's gonna be hard. We will be here for you. It's not gonna be easy, but we will be here for you. But those challenges made a completely different person out of him, who he was as a player and him to the next level. But it was a lot. It was a lot. And there were moments I sat there going, man, did I do the right thing? Sometimes to this day, still as a parent wonder. I don't think you'll ever know. But I remember those struggles made the difference in who he was as a person and a player.
And I have a ton of belief in him because of him sticking it through the stroke. Like, because just because we worked really hard or we're good and we put ourselves into a new situation, it doesn't guarantee success. There is no guarantee. There's no guarantee. It doesn't matter how hard we work, how much time we put in, how much money we invest. There's no guarantee. And so that's the other part of it. We like that's like my dad says, like rent is due. You got to show up every day and give your best every day. Like there isn't a time, especially if you want to level up. Now, look, if you want to play at a level where you're the best, if you want to be the big fish in the sea all of the
In a
time,
small pond.
yeah, right? It's right, you just stay in a small
Here
pond, but
we
most of us
are.
have aspirations to be at a higher level, to do bigger things. Well, shoot, I know, your oldest is going to be very well prepared because he has built a level of resilience, because he did work super hard and didn't necessarily get rewarded. I think this is something it's something that Alex Hormozy that says that's, on the business side of things. He says, "I think if you can work extremely hard for a long period of time and delay the gratification, you will outlast and win in business because most people aren't willing to not get that instant gratification."
And you know what, Colin? He is winning already. I mean, he's done 3 years as an intern as a law firm and now is moved to a large law firm.
Oh, I'm 0 shocked. I'm 0 shocked because no, it's not just because of his work ethic though, Tammy, it's because he's also understood now that it's not supposed to come easy, and that if he just keeps going, he's gonna outlast people who aren't willing to put up with it.
100%. And that's what he says. That's what he says. "I'm willing to do the work. It doesn't matter to me."
Exactly, but he built that's what I'm saying is, like, that self-belief was built through the fire of working really hard and not getting what he wanted, and then having to stay with it. Like, I mean, there was conversations that he and I had, like, well, like of, "Do what do I do? This is not fun anymore. This and I'm like, "I get it, man. I was there too."
Those conversations were gold, though, that's what I'm saying, and the fact that he could feel so vulnerable talking to you just, is huge, and the fact for me and I actually created this, I believe methodology, but to have somebody believe in you is a game changer, and especially if it is your parents. If you have your parents believing in you, I think that changes the game, and then you have other people believe in you along the road. I don't think there's much that can match that.
No, I agree. And a parent so here's the thing, when it comes back to the parent question, if our parents believe in us, they allow us to do what we are capable of doing. When our parents when our parents don't believe in us, that's when they intervene and they try to shape the path for the child instead of shaping the child for the path, right?
Oh, and I tried. I would have loved to have that an easy little road.
Right? No, I know.
Didn't always work.
No, I know, and so it's but that's the thing is, like, belief from parents comes like, "Okay, you got it. We support you, but you got it."
Yep, and I had those conversations, like, "This is kinda what you want, here's where we are," and, I'm 100% behind you, and I know you can do it, but and both of my kids, uh, so, yeah, 100% agree, and, the insight on that as far as telling parents, that would be your one thing to tell parents, is pretty major for me, honestly. I just think it touches the core of every parent to let them make these mistakes, to be okay the biggest thing I see is people trying to live vicariously through their children. Because now we've got and there was always yelling and screaming on the courts, no doubt. But now I'm looking at the physical fights. We're talking 10-year-old games. There is literally physical fights. Why are we doing this? That is not the child. That is the parent. But
I
that's a
know it.
whole other topic. That's a
It
whole
really is.
that's
I'll have to come back on for
do a
that one,
whole
Terry.
follow-up with that. But anyways, Colin, it has been great to have you. Like I said, you have been a part of our village for many, many, many moons, and I'm so excited for your growth. I know you're working on your second book since I've known you, and you work in so many different arenas. So excited for you, so proud to be part of your world, and so grateful you came to visit me.
Tammy, I appreciate it as always.
Thank you so much.